I don't know who they are. But anyway, as school starts, however, the prices do rise. Lots of expenses involved in getting the kids off to school, of course. So how can we avoid the education blowout?
Yes, well, with the government plans to abolish the school kids bonus, which has helped some families, purse strings are going to be strained even further, we hear. Well, to give us some handy cost-saving tips, we're joined by finance editor of Canstar and mother of 3, Justine Davies. Nice to see you, Justine. Pretty expensive going back to school. What are some of the more expensive things? The uniforms?
Yeah, look, probably the school fees are the most expensive thing, but there's not a lot yet that you can do about that. But there are some areas where you can make some good savings for schooling. So, you know, books, uniforms, iPads, all that sort of thing are the most expensive, I suppose. But we can make savings in those areas. So
well, I think uniforms is a big one for many people. I mean, the average uniform, I think, costs about $600 from top to bottom, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So if you can look at perhaps getting some second-hand uniforms, that's one big cost-saving tip. You know, at my kids' school, for example, those little cotton dresses, and they're just at primary school, they're $46 retail, but the second-hand uniform shop sells them for $2. So, you know, multiplied by 3 kids, several dresses each, that saves me a lot of money each year. So
now, in terms of stationery and all the books that you have to buy, not necessarily the biggest cost item, but a bit of a pain.
They are a bit of a pain, that's right, and that's one area where you're actually better off using a book list service. So, you know, some schools have it, or that's probably a bit late in the year to be using the school one, but, you know, Officeworks, for example, has a school list service where literally 30 seconds you jump online, your kid's school is probably already listed, they pack it for you. And they also have a parent's price promise. So if you find the same thing somewhere else cheaper, they give it to you for 10% less. So that's very good cost saving. And that's one area where, you know, sometimes parents can spend 3 hours running around to save $1, where you're actually better off using a book list service and putting that time into perhaps sourcing, you know, the second-hand uniforms, second-hand sporting equipment, musical equipment, all that type of thing.
Technology is a big one these days too, because, you know, as kids get into, you know, particularly years 4 and 5, and they're expected to have a little laptop or an iPad or something, and parents have to stump up for that. I mean, is there any way you can make a saving on that?
It's really tricky because, you know, they don't tend to discount iPads, and a lot of schools are going that way now. But perhaps one thing for parents is to put aside a little bit of money each week, even if it's just $10, into either a separate bank account or a jar under the bed, something like that, so that when they do have those big expenses or the school excursions or the extracurricular activities, they've actually got some money and they're not relying on their credit card.
The other one is, as you mentioned, that some people had told you that they might be looking forward to their kids going back to school. You get to these last couple of days and you've still got the kids, but you've got to do all this preparation. You had some tips for making it a bit more fun.
A little bit more fun, yeah. Look, things like making sure the pantry is well stocked, so that you're not relying on the tuck shop, because that can be really, you know, quite expensive. And get the kids into the habit of packing their lunch boxes the night before. But, you know, a few things: buy good quality shoes if you haven't already bought their shoes, because if they have blisters in those first few weeks, that's, you know, they're not going to have a good start to the year. So that sort of thing. As I said, use a book list service so that you're not spending half a day today running around trying to fill their school bags with all those things that they need. Check their uniform needs, so they're turning up on the day with the right coloured shoes and the right hat and all that type of thing. Just helps them settle into the year a little bit better as well. Also, label everything, because it is amazing what kids can lose. And I don't know if you've ever been to the lost property section at your kids' school, but halfway through the term there can be thousands of dollars worth of stuff sitting there. And I know my kids run out onto the oval at lunchtime, get hot, take their jumper off. That's the last I see of it for 3 weeks. So label everything except their undies. It's probably my biggest tip.
Well, I remember at St Finian's Academy for Young Gentlemen, the adjustment fees on our horses were astronomical. And then you'd have a handler.
Is that where you met Dr. Keith?
Yeah, exactly right. I was his mahout for a little while.
Thank you, Justine.
Justine, good on you.
Thank you.
Great to talk to you
getting back to school with your 3 little ones.
Indeed. After the break, can you ever